And welcome back to another Cyberdodo session. Today we are going to do a coding kata. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong one. All right, on my own. So we're going to do the Roman numeral kata today. So a little bit of improvement from last time. I know my screen is really big, and when you're on the mobile view, you can't see the screen when you're looking at YouTube on your phone. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit today. Apparently, I don't know my alphabet. Where is it? Roman numerals. Here we go. Alright, so let's see how this looks first, and then oh, actually, that's pretty big already. Alright, so Roman numerals today. Given a positive integer number, determine its Roman numeral representation as a string. You cannot write numerals like I am for 999. Wikipedia states modern Roman numerals are written by expressing each Arabic digit separately, starting with the leftmost digit, and skipping any digit with a value of 0. For example, 1990. MC MXC, blah blah blah. I'm pretty sure you can read the rest of this. Alright, so let's get going. Alrighty. First, let's get some syntax highlighted going. Alright, now it's looking better. I hate this line, let's get rid of that. Alright, so let's see how we should do this. Alright, so first we're just gonna do work on our test first, of course. So right off the back, I want to rename this. So I'm going to do Roman numeral. We can say return 1. Whoops. 1. And right here for our Roman numeral, we're going to do our expected output, which is a capital I for Roman numeral number 1. So we're going to look at this so we'll make sure I got it right. So public Roman numeral return 1. Well, actually, I should say returns 1. Alright, that looks good. Now we're going to go to our actual function here. So this is totally different. So regardless, you always want to start with a failing test. Let's just go ahead and test this. And it better fail. Okay. Expect the 1 but was 54 because it's totally wrong. Alright, so we're going to go here and we are just going to do the most simple possible thing that you could possibly do. And then in this method, we're just going to return I. And then we're going to go test it. A get or a set access expected. Why is that? Why is that? Huh. I think I know why. There you go. Here. And keep that empty. Let's test this again. Okay. So it says on line 5 on hiker.cs cannot implicitly convert type string to int. And that is because our return type is integer and not string. So I need to change that to string since this Roman numeral that I'm returning right here is a string wrapped in parentheses. Alright, let's try this again. Alright, now it passes. Next, we want to go back to our test, and we want to test now for a Roman number 2. So I'm just going to copy paste this down. Of course, we just add one more capital I. And then now, it's going to be a little different. We're going to want to use parameters now. So now that we have more than one exception to handle. So I want to go ahead and I'm going to pass 1 into this parameter. And I'm also going to pass 2 into this parameter right here. And also, since we're passing these numbers into these parameters right here, this is essentially saying it's bringing, or it's calling the class hiker.answer, which is our method here, and it's looking for parameters in here. So I'm going to call that parameter int num. So this num is going to represent 1 and 2. So I'm testing for both of these. Alright, so make sure I got the so good. And then I'm going to go back to my test since I have the test written for 2, and I'm going to pass it. And it should be failing. Oh, whoops. So on our test. Geez, I need to slow down. So we gotta do 2 right here instead of 1. But that's fine though. Errors are bad. Errors are bad, especially in TDD. That's what you want. You want the red to refactor and then get that green state. All right, let's try this again. All right, failing. That's what we wanted. So it says that our expected was I, but was just I. Now we need to go to our hiker.cs and we need to change up our logic a little bit here. I'm going to use the if statement first to, evaluate this. So I want to say if our num, whichever number we pass in from our test class, is greater than or equal to 2. Let's see, I hate this. I'm very different from my IAD or IDE. Whoops, sorry. We are going to return. We're going to return II. Whoops, that's in the string II. Alright, and since we have an if, we're going to need an else if because we still have that Roman numeral 1, that exception to count for. And then we're going to do an else if. So if this first one is, if our number that we're passing in is not greater than or not equal to 2, this first if statement right here is going to be false. And then we're going to jump down to the else if, and now the computer is going to check if this exception is true or not. And now we're going to say if num is greater than or equal to 1. Okay, super tedious. Then we're going to return row number 1. And also, if none of these are true, we're going to need to tell the computer to just, print out, whatever we want, I guess. Or say like we're doing a whole range of numbers, we would want the computer to, print out that whole range. So we're going to just do an else statement, which is the last thing. All right, deal with these parentheses again. All right, now in this, we're just going to return our num. All right, let's go ahead and test this and see what this says. Okay, hiker.cs error cannot implicitly convert type int to string. Okay, so line 15, hiker.cs. Okay, so our return type is a string, and this num is an integer, which we cannot do. But there is a built-in method that we can do called dot to string, which is a short way of taking that and converting it to a string. Now, this test should pass. All right, and it does. All right, now we're going to go back to our test class and we're going to do a little bit of copy pasting, but this time make sure we rename our test method different. So this one's going to test for 3. So we're going to change this and add one more I here and change this to 3. And we're going to run our test. We should be good at this by now. I know I am. Waiting. Alright, so once again, failing test is what we want. Expected 3, but was 2. Alright, so if we look at our hiker.cs class, we are only accounting for the exceptions of 2, or Roman numeral 2, and Roman numeral 1. But we don't have Roman numeral number 3. So, right off the bat, I'm seeing a problem. Repetitive code when coding is not good, because essentially if we keep doing this, we're gonna have to do an else if for all of these, and then this really isn't the best way to do it. I guess it's a lot of wasted time. So we gotta think about how I can refactor my code that I have here in hiker.cs to, I guess, best accommodate the data that we're given. But this is the plus. This is definitely a plus because we have data that's given to us. And then we have two things that we have to, an integer and a string that we have to account for. So right off the back, that tells me that I'm going to use a dictionary and using a key or a key value pair. My key is going to be integer plus 1, and my value is going to be the Roman numeral, which is I right here. So let's go back to our hiker.cs and let's just get rid of this because this is not clean code at all. Alright, let's get rid of that. Now let's work on the actual dictionary. So we're going to do public static because this method is going to be used. Well, actually, no. What am I doing? I'm putting this inside the method. Whoops, we need to put this outside of it. So we're going to do public static. Whoops, I can't spell now. Static dictionary. And like I was saying before, from this readme text, we want to do an integer and a string because we want to store those two data types in one index in this dictionary. So we have an int and we have a string, and I'm just going to call this method, let's just say Roman value key. Let's just call it that. Alright. Alright, so inside of this we're going to create a new instance of a dictionary, and we can call that dictionary values. So let's actually make that dictionary right now. So the dictionary int string, whoops, what did I say? All values, and that's going to equal new dictionary int string once again. Did I misspell something? Good, no. All right, and then from this we're going to open this up, and within this this is where we're gonna actually store our key value pairs in here. So our first one is going to be integer 1, and we want our value to be the Roman numeral. Alright, so as dictated here, our int's going to be the first one, so this 1 matches up with our integer, and our Roman numeral 1 is a string, which is in these quotations right here. So a string matches up and the int matches up with this. Of course, at the end of this dictionary, you want to end it an appropriate way so it knows that that's the end of our values that we're putting in. Now, when we, or in order to make this dictionary, be, I guess, well, it's already public, but I guess one way for this dictionary to have its voice, being able to speak, I guess I should say, we're going to create a mouth, we could say, and this mouth is going to be written in the return statement, and we're going to return this dictionary that was put in this variable called value. So we're going to return values, and this enables this method to be able, I'm sorry, I'm getting my words. So this allows this method to be able to be used somewhere else in the program. So all I have to do is call a dictionary and actually call this actual method that contains the dictionary values with this information. Now, I think for our dictionary for now we're set. Since now we're just testing 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, so with the 1 we should be good, because when we do this for each loop down here, which I want to show you how to do later on, it's going to go through this dictionary, hit 1, 2, 3 times, and it's going to add on this I 3 times. So we should be good now for 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so now moving on to the next part. Right out the back, I said we're going to need a loop. But also going through that loop, we're going to need a container to hold our Roman numeral values to put onto or to display onto the screen. But in this case, we're not going to display. We're just, comparing it with our test. So string, I'm just going to call it result. That's going to be equal to an empty string. All right, and now for the start our loop, whatever I want to iterate through a dictionary, I always use a for each loop. And accessing that dictionary with that method above with a Roman value key, I'm going to do key value pair inside of here. So key value pair, and we always have to tell it what type or what data types are going to be inside that dictionary. So we have an int and a string, and then we're going to give this this dictionary essentially a new value, so we can use this or a variable name, and we can use this variable name to extract the key and the values from this dictionary up here. So I'm just going to name it item n, and now I'm going to call this method right here. All right, guys, I hope I'm making some type of sense here. Like I said, this is not really a beginner's thing. This is more so for a person that knows a little bit about programming. So to explain this item is going to represent any key or value here, right? So by saying return values in this method right here, this makes this Roman value key and representation of, or to inherit this dictionary called values. So I'm able to bring everything from here, all the key values from here, and break it down into this for each loop by calling this method right here. So now that we have access to that method above, and we have assigned item to it, we are going to start to work on essentially, since we have this for each loop, we need a way to deal with the numbers that we input, and we need a way to deal with this result here. We need a way to add these Roman numerals to this result here. So like I said before, writing if else if is not really the right thing. So essentially what I want to do is use a while loop, which is kind of, I guess you could say, the same as doing a bunch of if else if statements, but we're going to use a while loop, a loop inside of a loop, and I'm going to do num greater than or equal to item dot key. Now when I say item dot key, right, so we're taking this variable, right, in Roman key value, which is this the method up here, which has a dictionary. So item dot key, so the item dot key accesses this integer 1 right here, which is the key, not the value, but the key. So while the number that we pass in right here, which is represented by these numbers right here, so while that number is greater than or equal to item dot key, we want to bring in our result. So this is where we take this empty string above, and this is where we start to fill it in. So I'm going to do result plus or equal to. So this means that we're adding to. So this is going to be item dot value. Dot value. So every time this iterates through this dictionary, it's going to take that 1 and add it to this result, which is the empty string. But I'll explain that more when I get this second part of the logic going. So now that we've found a way to deal with the result variable, which was an empty string, we need to find a way to deal with the actual number as it loops through. We can't have the same number going through again, you know. So once it goes through into the dictionary, we need it to subtract that, or what's a good way to explain this? We need it to subtract itself from the biggest value that it can find in that dictionary, so we're not constantly, you know, looping through with that same number. Excuse me. So I'm going to do num, which is the number that we bought in, and then we're going to, each time this loops through, each time this loops through, I can still never remember like what's plus or minus. I've been doing this for so long. But so each time we loop through this, we're going to subtract that number that we put in from our item dot key, right? And our item dot key is the first part of this index in this dictionary right here. So I want to try to explain this better now. So now that it's all put together, so this for each is a loop. So it's going to keep going through this information. We only have one thing here right now, but it's just going to keep hitting that over and over and over, right? And it's going to keep hitting it as long as it's true. Now I'm going to explain to you why it's true. So if we have 3 passed in, so in our test, we're passing in 3. This num is now representing 3. It's going to come down here, it's going to hit result, and it's going to be empty, so I can't do anything with that. So it's going to hit this for each. Then the computer is going to say, oh, okay, so I'm going to assign item as a variable to access Roman value key, which access this 1 and Roman numeral 1 also right here as a string. Now this while loop is put here in place to deal with our result and our number. So when our for each loop goes through and it hits the first key value pair in this dictionary, it's gonna do as long as this is true. So keep in mind that we have 3. So we have the result that's empty, and then we have num, which represents 3 that was carried in, right? It's gonna come up to the dictionary. It's gonna hit this result. I'm sorry, it's gonna hit this first part, right? So it's gonna do item. So the item that value is gonna be added on to our empty string, which is here. So that's why this plus equal. That's what the plus equals mean. And then our number is gonna be subtracted by the item key. So when this 3 hits this first part of this dictionary here, the first key pair value of this dictionary, is going to subtract 1 from it because we're subtracting the item dot key. And this is the only one we have here right now. So it's going to subtract 1, right? So now that 3 subtract 1 is now 2, right? So we now have 2. And we now have in our empty result Roman numeral 1. So it comes back down here. And then it's going to loop back to our dictionary, right? And then it's going to say, oh, it's 2. So it's still this conditional statement inside of here is still going to be true. So it's going to have 2 take away 1, right? And then it's going to naturally add another Roman numeral. And then when it's done with that, we're going to have 1 left over. And then inside of our empty result option, we are going to have 2 Roman numeral i's. Then it's going to come back up, and then it's going to loop again, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to subtract 1, and it's going to add another Roman numeral I to our empty string result, which is done here. All right. Then it's going to try to go back up. I'm sorry, before that, it's going to be down to 0 now. So there's going to be nothing there. So it's going to loop back up. You can't subtract. I mean, well, you can, but in this case, 0 is not going to go into 1. So this is going to be false. And then it's going to jump out, right? And then all that work that was just being done and all of those Roman numeral i's that were put into result, we need to find a way to, I guess, display to the test class here that our result matches what we actually expected here. So just like we did return values here, which makes this dictionary alive, be able to speak to the rest of the program, we're going to have to do return we have to return result. Hopefully I didn't spend too much time confusing you with that. And now we should be good. Let's go ahead and test it and see how it goes. The type or wait. Okay. Hiker.cs line 3. The type or namespace name dictionary could not be found. Are you missing? Oh, okay. Okay. So, since we're not in a regular IDE, which stands for Integrated Developers Environment, so that's just basically, Visual Studios or Eclipse if you use Java. We're gonna have to use a using statement here. So it's gonna be using, what was it? Systems.collection.generic. System.collections.generic. System.collections .generic. .collection. Okay, let's give this another test and see what happens. All right, and it passes. So basically now, you can essentially write a test. Like I'm not gonna write a test for every number that goes up to 999. So, I guess we could add as a couple more. Let me go grab. I'm gonna go grab a. I think as a matter of fact, I copy pasted it somewhere. Where is just to make this better? Okay, here we go. Here we go, minimize that. So I'm just gonna insert this into here just so we can, just for testing purposes here. Like I'm kind of glad I did that because now I can just take it from there. But I'm really not gonna, like type everything into here right now. It's gonna take too long. This video is already long enough. So I'm gonna go back to my test class and let's write another random test. Let's just test a random number just to make sure that this whole thing is working. So, all right, I don't know my Roman numerals well, so we are going to go empty, or actually open up a new tab, bring this over by here. So we're going to do Roman numeral for 547, and that's this right here. So we'll just copy paste this, put it in here. Whoops, wrong spot. Alright, I'm just gonna, this should always 5, 4, 7, and here 5, 4, 7. Alright, now when we run this test, make sure I got this right. So when we run this test, this should work. Because it should work for any number now since we have all of our values inside of that dictionary. Yep, and it does pass. Alright, you know what? Maybe, let me take a look at this. Okay, so we have 4, and I was thinking that for a second that we wouldn't have, oh, what's this like this? Yeah, attention to details, everything, guys. I think I just messed it up. Oh, no, I didn't. There it is. Alright. But yeah, so I was thinking that I didn't have an exception for 4, but it looks like I already put 4 in there. Let's do another one for fun. What am I doing? Let's do another test. Let's just do a low number. Let's just do 20. Let's do 28. Let's do 22. I think that's XX2 and 22. I'm just gonna name this 22 and run the test. Alright, and it passes. So yeah, this is just a pretty nice way of setting up the Roman numerals. It just cuts down on a lot of code. It's just nice, clean, simple to understand. Now I know, like I said in my first video, I'm not going to be really accomplishing these coding katas in a particular order of difficulty. I'm just going to choose a random one and do it for you guys. But I hope you guys enjoy the video. I'm still thinking about doing a beginning tutorial, for people that want to know what's going on and don't know what's going on. So I'm still thinking about that. It's just, if I have enough time to set it up, because I want to do it right. But anyways, thanks guys for coming back. Appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video.